back to the episode of The Donkey and the Bee with Brett and Laura Shotkavis, where we talking all things marriage, entrepreneurship, and finances.
All right. So, man, we had this experience this weekend that we wanted to share about. And really our message to you today, if you are not growing, then you're dying. There is no in between. There is no coasting in life. The way this world is designed, it's going to pull you down. So you have to be pushing, you have to be growing, or else you are going to die.
So this weekend, we were in a small town in Texas. And the reason why we were in the small town in Texas is because Brett and Brooklyn, they were running a triathlon. Brooklyn ran one, Brett ran two. So 2 triathlons in 1 weekend. So what's great about this experience is you're around a lot of individuals who are, what Brett just said, pushing to be their best selves. You see young as 12-year-olds all the way up to 85-year-olds running these triathlons. So it's a great environment. So as we're there, we pull up to the side and we need some gas. So we pull over, and again, small town in Texas. So the people there are just a little different. And there was a girl behind the counter. I went in to get some ice, and she looked like she probably was born and raised in this town, and super friendly, very sweet. And I always seek opportunities to talk to people. And so I was like, hey, how are you doing today? And it just opened the floodgates. Sometimes when you just ask one person a question, they just open the floodgates. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm doing okay. And then just kind of went into her whole spiel. Like I felt like it was kind of a therapy session. She was like, my mom used to tell me that when I was a kid, that she brought me into this world and she could take me out of it. And my first thought was like, why is she telling me this right now? It's kind of dark. And she said, man, I've had a really, really tough couple months. And I called my mom and asked her if she could take me out of this world. And my first response was my reaction was like, that's really sad that she would think this, that she has these thoughts. And I just responded in a way that was like, well, no, look at you, you're young, you have a lot going for you, you're right, your whole life ahead of you. And she just didn't see it that way. And so it was interesting seeing an individual in that environment who has everything ahead of her, who has so much potential, viewing her life that way. But then here I go, I take the car, I drove 10 minutes away, and I'm in an environment around people who think they could do anything in the world, and who are pushing past their limits, and who don't care how old they are or how young they are. They're still going to pursue their goals. And so it was such an interesting dynamic to see 2 different types of mindsets that people can have toward life. And I talked to Brett about this in the car. I'm like, man, that was a really sad conversation I just had with this girl. And we both started talking about the topic we're talking about today is if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's really what she was in an area of her life where she just wasn't growing anymore. She was stagnant in her job. She probably had been making the same amount of money for years, probably lived in the same, small little apartment or something, and just felt like she was stuck. And so it's just an interesting dynamic to see people that are stuck in their own minds thinking that they just want to die. That's literally what her mindset was, that she just didn't want to go on anymore. And that's just so sad to me. So that's why we're talking about this today, because I think it's an important thing to be aware of in your own life.
So I met this woman also, and you can just see the heaviness on her. And she was a heavy set person. She was not in shape. She was overweight by a good amount. And you can see just the heavy of the job, right? I didn't know too much about her, but 2 things I'm able to pull right off the bat, right? She's not growing in her physical body, and she's not growing in her finances, in her job situation. And then I'm later on that day on the race, I'm on the bike course for an hour and a half or so, and I'm just looking at all these different people, all these young women that are around, right? Because this woman we're talking about in the gas station was probably mid-20s. So many of these young women out there fit, pushing their body, challenging themselves. And or at least I know that a lot of people that do this type of activities, that do marathons or triathlons or some of these competitive things, CrossFit events, they're driven people, and it spills over into the other areas of their lives. It spills into their job. It spills into their finances. It spills into their relationships. And it really just starts with getting out there and growing. And I think that's where I see people get stuck. They get stuck in bad relationships and bad marriages and bad parenting and bad dead-end jobs because they didn't take that initiative. They didn't get the ball moving. And I see the people running these races, these bigger events, and these people here, some of them are not in shape at all. There's very fit people, and there's honestly a wide spectrum. Even when I do full Ironmans, there's very heavy set people that are not in shape that are doing these things, and they're just like, this is my life goal. I've been training for this. I'm gonna do it. And I would say that's my message to people. If you're in a space in your life where you are unhappy, it's probably because you're not growing in multiple areas or in one or two areas. But I think that the easiest place to start to get inertia going is with your physical body. And you don't have to get out there and run a triathlon next weekend. But you know what? We got Thanksgiving coming up. There's going to be turkey trots, right? You get out there and at least walk the 5K. What kind of physical goals do you have? You have to be growing in these spaces. And I think practically speaking, if you're in a rut in life, start with a physical goal. Start growing there. Get up an hour early every morning. Hit the gym. Be around people that also have a growth mindset. And, for us, we go to CrossFit, and I understand that some people are like, that's too expensive, right? It's not a small amount of money. It's not the $30 and you go to like Gold's Gym or whatever. I would say don't go to a place like that where you spend the $30 a month. Cut stuff out of your budget. Cut your alcohol budget. Cut your Starbucks budget and spend the extra $100 and go to a boot camp kind of gym, because there's accountability there. There's people there that are trying to grow. And then, when we go on vacation or something, right? We go back to the gym. People are like, hey, where you guys been? Right? Like, what's going on? I didn't see you yesterday, right? There's accountability there. There's, maybe not quite friendships, but there's like a kind of a bond. Like, we're here every morning at 5 a.m. with these other people, and they know that me and you are going to be there, right? And when we're not there for a week, there's like, you either better be on vacation or I don't know what you're doing because I'm going to call you out because we made a commitment together to grow and to do these things. So I would say start there because it will transition into the other areas of your life.
When people have the excuse of the gym is too expensive, my first response, I actually have two responses. My first response is, well, do you know what's even more expensive? Hospital bills. I always say that. Hospital bills are more expensive. If you are not taking care of yourself now, your physical body now, there will be ramifications down the road where you probably will get sick and you probably will have to go to the hospital and the doctor a little more often. And if you look at it from that view, hospital and doctor bills are way more expensive than CrossFit monthly. So if you just change your perspective on that, taking care of yourself now, so the long term, you will realize that gain. It kind of changes your perspective on that. Second thing that is my response is what Brett just said. Are you going out on the weekends? Do you eat out every night? How much are you drinking? Are you smoking? Are these negative habits that you have? Are you just kind of writing those off that they're okay? Because, man, that costs a lot of money. I don't know how much a pack of cigarettes costs, but I know it's not cheap. And I know for sure that alcohol is not cheap. And if you cut those things out, I mean, that'll save you hundreds of dollars a month. And then there you go. That's your extra money that you have now for your membership. It doesn't have to be CrossFit. It can just be some sort of boot camp. And so I think just take inventory of things that you're spending on that you could cut. Everybody can cut something out of their monthly budget to afford really bettering themselves physically.
The important thing about going to the gym and getting up every morning, creating that as part of your routine, is that you actually wake up your body. You get your endorphins going and you become more productive. It's not like, oh, I'm in this vacuum. I did the gym and therefore I've checked that off the box and I'm going to live the rest of my life the exact same. No, you're not. You're going to wake up your body. You're going to be moving. You're going to be more energized. And that is going to transition into your day. You are now starting the catalyst of being a growth-minded person. Start with the physical body because it's going to move into the rest of your life. You're going to leave there. You're going to hit your work, right? Now you are proving to yourself, hey, you know what? I can get up an hour earlier. I can hit the gym. I'm seeing weekly progress on the scale and in my muscles and what I'm able to do. You know what? You're going to take that attitude and mindset. You get addicted to growing. You get addicted to results. And the next thing is, you know what? Let me bust my butt at work. Let me push for that promotion. Let me spend extra time at home or on the weekends educating myself, growing myself for that next raise, that next opportunity. Because once you prove to yourself that you can take these action steps, you can do it at the gym, and then perhaps in your workplace, it just keeps moving from space to space to space in your life. It's almost like a disease. It just wants to spread. Like, it's a good disease. It's growth, and it's just like kind of you get addicted to it. And so we've been on this journey. I think we got really hooked on it maybe 10 or 12 years ago, and have gone all in. And it literally just started with a little spark. And we got some action, we got some results, and we got excited about that. And then we said, what else can we do? What are the other areas in our lives? And we've gone through a whole spectrum of things, like going through relationships, old relationships, mending ties, asking for forgiveness, apologizing, all these different things. This is all a path towards growth. And it can start with the smallest little spark. And that's my encouragement to you, to get out there and start moving your physical body.
It's a self-confidence booster, I think, is also important to note. When you consistently tell yourself, or when you tell yourself that you're going to go to the gym and you actually do it, you are proving to yourself that you can do it, but you're also keeping the promises that you made to yourself. And in turn, that will cause you to be more confident within yourself. And so I think this is why we're talking about the physical body. We're talking about working out, because it's almost something that you can see with your eyes, right? Like, you can see if you have muscle mass that's built. You can see if you're losing weight. You can see if you can now do a push-up and you couldn't do it before, or now you can do a pull-up and you couldn't do it before. It's like you can actually see it. Whereas, like, if you're bettering yourself by just like reading books and listening to podcasts and whatever else, like, sometimes you can't really necessarily see that. And so the physical aspect of it is super important. But the self-confidence aspect is super important. I also wanted to note that there is a big, I don't want to say epidemic, because that sounds so dramatic, but problem, I think, with our culture today, saying that there's this, mental health crisis. And I do think there is a mental health crisis. But what I do think the root cause of this mental health crisis is people are just unhappy. It's not like you're depressed. I think you're unhappy. And I think those are two different things. And I think the reason why people are unhappy is because they're not growing. It's exactly what we're talking about now. I think we as human beings are meant to grow. We're meant to really become the best version of ourselves. And if we're not doing that, if we're stagnant, then I think we're going to be unhappy. For example, if I have, a day where I go to the gym, I come back, I read my Bible, I pray, I take my kids to school, I come back and I just bang out a lot of work, right? I do all the things that I said I was going to do on my list. I get it all done. Yes, it was a hard day. There was a lot going on. But at the end of the day, you feel so fulfilled because you did all the things you said you were going to do, and you probably learned a lot through the process. And so I think that is where true happiness lies, is really getting uncomfortable and pushing your limits so that you prove to yourself what you can do. And so I wouldn't look at it as, if you're feeling a little depressed, I wouldn't look at it like that. I would maybe look at your life, maybe I'm unhappy. What is it within my life that I can change so that I can grow, so that you can see that happiness in your life?
Yeah, I think you're kind of hitting on expectations. Everyone has expectations for themselves, and happiness is kind of like just you self-judging. Am I at where my expectations should I be, right? In my marriage, how does my current situation compare to my expectations of marriage? How about my job and my finances? All these different things in life, most times you're unhappy because you see a gap. I am supposed to be over here, but I'm not. I'm way back here, right? And that just goes back to growth. If you want to be happy, if you want to be fulfilled, take action. Get out there, and it's just baby steps. You don't have to have some massive goals. Just start with a little improvement, 10%, right? If you're not working out at all, then you know what? Get outside today and walk a mile. Jog a half mile, walk a half mile, whatever you got to do. But start giving yourself baby step goals. And if you can prove to yourself that you are worthy of this, you'll start loving yourself more. And when you start loving yourself more, you will be more happy, more fulfilled.
I think when you love yourself more, you also attract the things that you really want in your life. It's it's the example of, this is going to sound kind of funny, but it's like that. If someone is a little overweight and they really are attracted to like someone who's like super physically fit and like has their crap together and has a great job and their finances together, but you're not that person and you're attracted to that person, you actually need to become that person so that that person can then be attracted to you. And so I think there's a misconception there that I am how I am and I'm attracted to that person, they're going to like me back. Well, no, if that person is striving to be the best version of themselves and has their crap together, they're going to be looking for that exact person. And so be the person who you are attracted to. If you're attracted to someone who's like super into lifting weights and who goes to all these growth conferences, then you got to do that too. Be around those people, be in that environment, and you will attract that to yourself.
Well, thanks for joining us on The Donkey and the Bee. We will see you on the next one.
Peace and love, y'all. Just kidding, you don't have to add that.
Weird.